Good morning, come and light a fire and cook steak, mushrooms, nettles and cleavers with me. First up, when I'm lighting a fire, I take my dead wood that's hung in trees so that I know it's going to be dry and less likely to have critters living in it. I start off by using the smallest sticks and then build up as the fire gets bigger. I won't be cooking on a big fire though, because cooking over flames is nowhere near as efficient as cooking over a good bed of embers, as you end up usually burning yourself and your food. Here I am using my ember blower. I use this to get air directly onto the embers and it helps get the fire going a little easier. And here I am using a foraging bag that my sister got me for my birthday. I find it really handy as it clips onto your belt and the bag is removable for washing too. This is how I pick nettles without getting stung. These spines face upwards and they're really brittle, so if you go in confidently and with a little bit of an upward lift, then you usually don't get stung. Confidently break the spines with a little bit of an upward lift with your fingers just before they touch the stem, and you're good to go. Well, the fire's coming on well, but it's still a little bit too flamey for my liking, so I'm going to leave it for a bit longer whilst I get the mushrooms, onions and garlic prepped. Pop your pan on to heat up, season with a bit of wild garlic salt, and grab your steak that is already rested in the sun so it's at room temperature. The pan's nice and hot and I've seasoned with a bit more wild garlic salt. Steak you really shouldn't faff with, no pressing or poking, just cook one side then the other, and don't forget to take the little knobbly bit for cooker's tacks. That's a very important part of the cooking process. Once the steak's cooked, throw in your mushrooms and onions, season with a bit more salt. My fire's feeling a bit low, so I'm going to make a little bit more flame underneath the kettle as I want that to boil so I can have a cup of tea. Using my blower again, really handy bit of kit that. I tend to put the garlic in after I've put the mushrooms and onions in so that it doesn't burn. I hate burnt garlic. Give it a little swizzle. Any juice that's come out of the rested steak chuck in as well. It's all flavour. And I'm really sorry for touching my screen with a greasy finger. It's a bit blurred now. Oh, here's a bit of ground ivy. It's part of the mint family, so it makes a really refreshing cup of tea. Now I'm done with that, I will put the fire underneath my pan and get it ready for putting the nettles and the cleavers in. I don't chop them up because they wilt down a little bit like spinach. Steam them underneath that plate. And because nettles are so full of iron and so good for you, I'm also going to chuck some in my cup of tea, along with some cleavers. Cleavers, or goosegrass, is really good to use in a spring tonic because it helps assist your body with cleansing your lymphatic system. Those are steamed nicely, but there's a little bit too much water, so I'm going to let that reduce down. And once that's done, chuck in a blob of cream. Just because it's foraged doesn't mean it's got to be super duper healthy. So take that off the heat now it's done, and pop your piece of toast on. Now I think I've overdone my steak a little bit, but I'm still very happy with how it's turned out. And then cutter's tacks, also a very important bit of the cooking process. Let's plate it up. This is a lovely wooden plate that my granddad turned me. It's oak and it's my favourite. I'm not a huge meat eater, so when I do make a meal using meat, I like to make it a special event, and this dish can easily be made vegetarian by just doubling up on the mushrooms, nettles and cleavers. As soon as a stinging nettle is in hot water or cooked in any way, the sting is harmless. I like leaving the nettles and the cleavers long and rolling it up like spaghetti on my fork. I hope you liked this little video, and the main thing I'd like you to take away from it is that foraging doesn't have to be fancy. So, happy snacking!